My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I'm about to do the most insane thing I've ever done. I'm going to Venezuela to find my husband, and I'm bringing help. They told me my husband was dead, shot down over Venezuelan airspace during a classified military operation. But then my phone rang at 3 a.m., and for exactly 7 seconds, I heard him breathing on the other end before the line went dead. Everyone thinks I'm crazy. The Air Force, my family, even my own mother said I need to accept reality and move on. But I know what I heard, and I'm not the kind of woman who gives up on the man she loves. Let me back up a bit. 3 months ago, my husband, Captain Jake Mitchell, kissed me goodbye before a routine training flight. Except it wasn't routine. 2 days later, 2 officers showed up at my door in Austin with that look on their faces. The look that says your whole world is about to shatter. Mrs. Mitchell, we regret to inform you that your husband's aircraft was shot down during a classified operation near the Venezuelan border. There were no survivors. We're very sorry for your loss. No survivors. That's what they said. No body recovered, no wreckage found, just gone. I teach basketball at Lincoln High School. I'm used to problems I can solve. A broken play, a struggling student, a team that won't gel. But this? How do you solve your husband disappearing into thin air? The Air Force gave me a flag, told me Jake died serving his country, had a memorial service with an empty casket. Everyone cried, everyone hugged me, everyone told me how brave Jake was. But something felt wrong. Jake and I have been married for 8 years, high school sweethearts from right here in Austin. He joined the Air Force, became a pilot. I became a coach. We built a simple, good life. Church on Sundays, barbecues with friends, talking about having kids someday. And then he was just gone. I prayed every night, asked God for a sign, for peace, for anything to help me understand why this happened. Then I got the phone call. It was a Thursday night. I was grading game footage in my living room. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Hello? Heavy breathing. Static. Then a voice, so faint I almost missed it. Sarah. My heart stopped. Jake? Jake? More static. The sound of wind, or maybe rotors? Then nothing. The line went dead. I called back immediately. The number was disconnected. I tried again, and again. Nothing. I called the Air Force liaison officer. He was polite, but firm. Mrs. Mitchell, I understand you're grieving, but prank calls happen. People are cruel. Your husband is gone. I'm very sorry. But it wasn't a prank. I know my husband's voice. I know the way he says my name. That was Jake. I couldn't sleep after that. Spent the next week researching everything I could find about the operation, which was nothing because it was classified. I called every military contact Jake had ever mentioned. Most wouldn't talk to me. The ones who did said the same thing. I needed to accept the truth and move on. But I couldn't, because what if he was alive? What if he was out there somewhere waiting for someone to come find him? That's when I made my decision. I was going to Venezuela. My best friend, Melissa, thought I'd lost my mind. Sarah, you can't just go to Venezuela. It's dangerous. There's a civil war, cartels. The government barely exists. You'll get yourself killed. Then I'll die trying to find my husband. How are you even going to get there? How are you going to find him? You don't speak Spanish. You've never been out of the country except that one cruise to Mexico. She was right about all of it. I had no plan, no resources, no idea what I was doing. But I had faith, and I had determination, and I had a phone call that told me Jake was alive. I started looking for help. Posted on military forums, reached out to veteran groups, asked if anyone knew someone who could help me navigate Venezuela. Most responses were people telling me I was insane. A few were clearly scammers trying to take advantage of a desperate woman. But then I got a message from someone named Marcus Webb. I can help you find your husband, but you need to understand what you're getting into. Venezuela is not a vacation. It's not a mission. It's survival. If you're serious, meet me at Julio's Cantina in San Antonio this Saturday at noon. Come alone. I showed the message to Melissa. She immediately said it was obviously a trap, a scam, possibly a serial killer. But what choice did I have? That Saturday, I drove to San Antonio, found Julio's Cantina in a neighborhood that made me check my car locks twice, walked in at exactly noon. Before I continue, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'd love knowing where my story is reaching. The place was dark, smelled like beer and fried food. A handful of old men sat at the bar watching soccer, and in the back corner, there was a man who could only be Marcus Webb. He was maybe 50, built like he still hit the gym regularly, shaved head, scars on his forearms, the kind of guy who looked like he'd seen things, done things. I walked over. Marcus Webb? He looked me up and down. You're the basketball coach. How did you... I do my research. Sit down, Mrs. Mitchell. I sat. A waitress came over. Marcus ordered a beer. I asked for water. So, you think your husband is alive in Venezuela? I know he is. Based on a phone call that lasted 7 seconds? Yes. He studied me for a long moment. You know what Venezuela is like right now. It's chaos. The government controls Caracas and not much else. The rest is divided between the military, cartels, and guerrilla groups, the FARC spillover from Colombia, armed gangs, kidnappers. And that's just the organized crime. I don't care. I need to find my husband. Why me? Because you served in Venezuela, your profile said you were military intelligence, that you have contacts throughout the country, that you've worked with resistance groups. He smiled, not a friendly smile, more like he was impressed I'd done my homework. I did 3 tours in South America, trained local forces, worked with the good guys and sometimes the bad guys. I know the terrain, I know the players, and yeah, I still have contacts. Some of them even return my calls. Will you help me? Why should I? This is probably a suicide mission. Your husband is most likely dead, and even if he's not, finding one person in Venezuela is like finding a needle in a country-sized haystack. Because I heard his voice, because I made a vow before God to love him in sickness and in health, because I'm not giving up, and because I pulled out an envelope. I can pay you. He raised an eyebrow. How much? $50,000. It's everything Jake and I saved. The life insurance payout, everything. Marcus whistled low. Lady, that's a lot of money, but it's probably not enough for what you're asking. It's all I have. He was quiet for a moment. Then he leaned back and sighed. Tell me about the phone call. Every detail. So I did. The time, the static, the breathing, Jake saying my name, the background noise that might have been rotors or wind. And the number was disconnected when you called back? Yes. Marcus pulled out his phone, started typing. Give me the number. I did. He typed more. Waited. His expression changed slightly. Interesting. What? That number? It pinged off a cell tower near the Colombian border, a small town called San Antonio del Táchira. It's in Venezuelan territory, but right on the border. My heart started racing. So he was there? Someone was there. Could have been your husband, could have been someone using a phone they took from him, could be nothing. He looked at me seriously. But it's a lead, and in this kind of situation, a lead is everything. So you'll help me? He finished his beer, seemed to be weighing something in his mind. Against my better judgment, yeah, I'll help you. But we do this my way. You follow my rules. When I say run, you run. When I say hide, you hide. When we leave, we leave. No arguments, no hesitation. Understood? Understood. And Mrs. Mitchell, there's a very good chance we find out your husband really is dead, that we're chasing a ghost. Can you handle that? I met his eyes. I can handle anything except not trying. He nodded slowly. Okay then. We leave in 1 week. Pack light, bring nothing that identifies you as American military. No jewelry with his rank, no photos in uniform, nothing. We're going in as aid workers with a relief organization. Got it? And one more thing. Down there, you're not a coach, you're not a widow, you're not anything except my partner who does exactly what I say to stay alive. Can you do that? Yes. Marcus stood up, extended his hand. Then welcome to the worst decision of your life, Sarah Mitchell. Let's go find your husband. I shook his hand. It was rough, calloused, the hand of someone who'd done hard things and survived. The week before we left was the longest of my life. I told my school I was taking a leave of absence for family reasons, told my family I needed time away to process Jake's death and was going on a grief retreat, told Melissa the truth, made her promise not to tell anyone, and asked her to check on my house while I was gone. Sarah, this is insane. You could die. You could disappear just like Jake. Then what? Then, at least I didn't spend the rest of my life wondering. She hugged me tight, tears running down her face. You're the bravest person I know, and the craziest. Promise me you'll come back safe. I'll promise I'll try. Marcus sent me a detailed list of what to bring. It was surprisingly short. 2 changes of clothes in neutral colors, browns, greens, nothing bright, hiking boots that were already broken in, a good knife with a fixed blade, water purification tablets, basic first aid supplies, cash in small bills, 20s and smaller, and a burner phone with no apps, no connection to my real identity. No smartphone, his message said. They can track those. We go completely dark once we cross the border. I spent hours on my knees praying, asking God to watch over me, to guide me, to help me find Jake, to bring us both home safe. My faith was the only thing keeping me from completely falling apart. The night before I left, I couldn't sleep. Just lay in bed staring at the ceiling, at the photos of Jake and me on the dresser. Our wedding day, both of us so young and hopeful. A trip to the Grand Canyon where Jake proposed for the 2nd time just because he wanted to. Him in his flight suit, looking so proud and strong and alive. I'm coming for you, I whispered to his picture. Hold on, baby. I'm coming. Marcus picked me up at 4 a.m. His truck was old and beat up, but clearly well-maintained, the kind of vehicle that wouldn't attract any attention. Ready? I asked as I climbed in. As I ever will be. We drove to Houston. The sun was coming up as we hit the highway. Marcus was quiet most of the drive. Finally, he said, "You sure about this? Last chance to bag out." "I'm sure." Good, because once we're on that plane, there's no calling for help, no cavalry coming to save us. It's just you and me against whatever we find down there. I understand. We caught a flight to Bogota, Colombia. I'd never been to South America, never been anywhere really, except that cruise to Cozumel for our 5th anniversary. Now I was flying into a foreign country to launch an illegal rescue mission. The whole flight, Marcus briefed me on what to expect. He had a folder full of notes, maps, contacts. Venezuela is what happens when a country completely collapses. The government has imploded. Maduro's regime technically controls the capital, but that's about it. The rest of the country is divided between military factions, guerrilla groups left over from Colombia's civil war, drug cartels, and just general chaos. The economy is destroyed. Hyperinflation made their currency worthless. Most people survive by bartering or using US dollars. How bad is the violence? Bad. Kidnapping is a major industry. Armed robberies are constant. The police are corrupt or non-existent. Murder rate is off the charts. And that's just the criminal element. The political situation is even messier. How do we even get in? Don't we need visas? He smiled, that slightly dangerous smile that made me both nervous and glad he was on my side. We're not going through official channels. There's a place I know where the border is more of a suggestion than a line. The guards there can be reasoned with. Bribed. Everything in Venezuela runs on bribes now. Get used to it. Cash is king, and a $20 bill will open doors you didn't know existed. 200 seems steep, Marcus said. For an unrecorded border crossing with no stamps, no questions, it's a bargain. Venezuela is expensive now. Everything costs. We stayed in Bogota that night, got a cheap hotel near the bus station. I tried to sleep, but couldn't. This was real. This was actually happening. Tomorrow, I'd be in Venezuela, hunting for my husband in one of the most dangerous countries on earth. I prayed, God, please protect me. Please help me find Jake. Please let him be alive. Please bring us both home safe. My faith was the only thing keeping me from completely falling apart. Around 2 a.m., Marcus knocked on my door. Can't sleep either? No. Come on, let's get coffee. We should talk. We found an all-night cafe, sat in a back corner. Marcus ordered 2 coffees and some kind of pastry. I need to be straight with you, he said, about what we're walking into. Okay. Venezuela isn't just dangerous, it's unpredictable. The rules change depending on who's in charge of whatever area you're in. What works in one town might get you killed in the next. We're going to have to be smart, flexible, and ready to run at a moment's notice. I understand. Do you? Because I've seen trained soldiers freeze up down there. Experienced operators make fatal mistakes. And you're a high school basketball coach from Texas. So why did you agree to help me? He was quiet for a moment. Because 20 years ago, I left a man behind, my spotter in Colombia. We got ambushed. I had a chance to go back for him, but my commander ordered me to retreat. I followed orders. They found him 3 days later, dead, tortured. He looked at me. I've regretted that decision every day since, so when you showed up, willing to risk everything for your husband, I couldn't say no. Someone should get their person back. Thank you for telling me that. Just don't make me regret this, Coach. Do exactly what I say when I say it. No hesitation. Can you promise me that? I promise. Good. Now finish your coffee. We leave at dawn. We left Bogota at sunrise. The drive to the Venezuelan border took most of the day. The landscape changed as we got closer, from relatively well-maintained highways to increasingly rough roads full of potholes. The buildings got more run down. Armed checkpoints appeared every few miles. Marcus handled them all smoothly. A friendly wave, a few words in Spanish. Sometimes a $20 bill passed discreetly. We kept moving. Those weren't official checkpoints, he explained. Those were just armed groups controlling territory. Could be military, could be gangs, could be guerrillas. Doesn't really matter. They all want the same thing. Money to let you pass. How do you know who to trust? You don't. You just pay and move quick. We reached the border crossing Carlos had marked around 5:30 p.m. It was exactly as he'd described, a dirt road leading to a small guard post. 2 men in mismatched uniforms sat outside smoking cigarettes and drinking something from a bottle. Marcus pulled up slowly, got out with his hands visible, started talking to them in rapid Spanish. I stayed in the car like he'd instructed, trying to look harmless and non-threatening. The conversation went on for several minutes. I saw Marcus pull out cash. One of the guards shook his head. Marcus pulled out more cash. More head shaking. My heart started racing. This wasn't going to according to plan. Finally, Marcus came back to the car, got something from the back, returned to the guards. I saw him hand over a bottle of whiskey we'd bought in Bogota. Suddenly, everyone was smiling. Handshakes all around. The guards waved us through. What happened? I asked as we drove across. Luis wasn't there. His cousin was filling in. Wanted more money. I gave him the whiskey instead. Made a friend. He glanced at me. Welcome to Venezuela, Sarah. From here on out, nothing is guaranteed. The change was immediate. The paved road ended about a mile past the crossing, turning rutted dirt. The buildings we passed were in terrible shape. Broken windows, collapsed roofs, walls covered in graffiti. We saw burned-out cars abandoned by the side of the road, groups of people standing around with nowhere to go and nothing to do. What happened here? I asked, shocked by the devastation. Socialism happened. Corruption happened. They nationalized the oil industry and promised to spread the wealth. Instead, the government stole everything. Then oil prices dropped and the whole house of cards collapsed. Now, there's no economy, no infrastructure, no nothing. Just people trying to survive. We drove to San Antonio del Táchira, the town where Jake's phone call had originated. It was bigger than I expected, but still felt empty. Lots of closed shops, people sitting on stoops with hollow looks in their eyes. Armed men on street corners who watched our vehicle pass with predatory interest. Marcus found a small hotel that looked slightly less sketchy than the others. Paid cash for 2 rooms. The owner, an older woman who reminded me of my grandmother, looked at us suspiciously, but took our money. "American?" she asked in English. "Si. We're with Hope International, doing relief work." She snorted. "Hope. We need more than hope here. But you have cash, so you can stay. Don't go out at night. Don't trust anyone. Keep your door locked." Marcus got us settled in our rooms on the 2nd floor. Both had locks that looked flimsy, but better than nothing. He gave me a pistol. I stared at it. "Marcus, I don't know how to use a gun." "It's simple. Point at the bad guy, pull the trigger. Safety is here. Flip it down to fire. Only use it if someone is actively trying to kill you. Got it?" I took the gun with shaking hands. It was heavier than I expected. Cold. Real. "Got it." "Good. Get some rest. Tomorrow we start asking questions. Don't leave your room tonight. Don't answer the door for anyone except me. And keep that pistol close." After he left, I sat on the bed staring at the gun in my hands. This was really happening. I was in Venezuela with a weapon, about to start hunting for my husband in a collapsed narco state. I got on my knees and prayed. "God, I'm scared. I'm so far out of my depth, but I believe you brought me here for a reason. Please protect me. Please guide me to Jake. Please give me strength." I barely slept that night. The hotel walls were thin, so I could hear everything. Voices arguing in Spanish, music playing, footsteps in the hallway. Once, someone tried the door handle. I grabbed the pistol, heart racing, safety off. But whoever it was moved on. At dawn, Marcus knocked. Time to hunt. We spent the day talking to people around town. Marcus did all the talking. His Spanish was perfect, flowing naturally. He'd buy people coffee or beer at the small cafes that were still operating, chat casually about nothing, then slowly work in questions. Most people knew nothing. Some were too scared to talk, eyes darting around nervously. A few clearly thought we were crazy and wanted nothing to do with us. But late in the afternoon, we found someone willing to talk. His name was Pedro, an old man who ran a small repair shop fixing motorcycles and generators. Marcus bought him lunch at a street vendor, and they talked for an hour while I stood nearby trying to understand. Finally, Marcus turned to me. He says 3 months ago, there was a lot of military activity in the mountains north of here. Helicopters flying in and out, trucks on the roads. The Venezuelan army was moving something, or someone. My heart started pounding. "Moving what?" Marcus asked. Pedro responded, gesturing with his weathered hands. "Prisoners. He says the military was transporting prisoners through this area. He didn't see them clearly, but he heard rumors. Americans, maybe military. He's not certain, but that's what people were saying. Where did they take them?" More conversation. Pedro drew something in the dirt with a stick, a rough map. He doesn't know the exact location, Marcus translated, but he heard stories about a place in the mountains, an unofficial prison camp run by a rogue military commander named Colonel Esteban Vargas. Apparently, Vargas is basically a warlord now. He controls this region through fear and violence, has his own army, his own rules. And he has prisoners? According to Pedro, Vargas takes prisoners, political enemies, captured soldiers, anyone who crosses him, and puts them to work. There's gold in these mountains, small deposits, but enough to be profitable. Vargas uses prisoner labor to mine it, then sells it on the black market. The official government in Caracas knows, but they don't care. He shares his profits with the right people. Everyone looks the other way. Jake could be there. Maybe. It's the best lead we have. But Sarah, you need to understand something. This Colonel Vargas is not a good guy. He's a war criminal. Torture, murder, rape. He's done it all. His camp is heavily guarded. Getting in would be nearly impossible. Getting out with a prisoner would be suicide. But it's possible, Marcus sighed, looked at me with something like respect mixed with concern. With the right plan, the right timing, and a lot of luck, maybe. But we need intelligence first. Real intelligence. We need to know exactly where this camp is, how many guards, what their routines are, what weapons they have, everything. How long will that take? A week, maybe 2. I have contacts I can reach out to. Former Venezuelan military who went private, resistance fighters who oppose Vargas, information brokers. Give me time and I can build a picture. Then do it, whatever it takes. Over the next 12 days, Marcus worked magic. He'd disappear for hours, sometimes full days, come back with new information, new contacts, new pieces of the puzzle. He met with former soldiers who'd deserted rather than work for Vargas, with villagers who'd lost family members to the camp, with smugglers who'd seen the location from a distance, with a doctor who'd been forced to treat prisoners and then escaped. Slowly, piece by piece, we built a detailed picture of Colonel Esteban Vargas's operation. The camp was in the mountains about 40 miles northeast of San Antonio, hidden in thick jungle, surrounded by razor wire fence with guard towers at each corner. 20 to 30 guards on site at any given time, armed with AK-47s, a few heavy machine guns, and apparently some RPGs. The prisoners, maybe 50 total, were kept in rough barracks and worked 12-hour shifts in the gold mines. The good news, Marcus said, spreading his hand-drawn maps on the hotel room bed, is that Vargas is arrogant. He thinks he's untouchable, so security is decent but not amazing. The guards are lazy, they drink, they rotate shifts at predictable times. There are patterns we can exploit. And the bad news? I asked. The bad news is that there are still 30 armed men between us and the prisoners, and we're just 2 people. If this goes loud, if we get into a firefight, we're dead. Our only chance is stealth. Get in, find Jake, get out before anyone knows we're there. Have you confirmed Jake is definitely there? Marcus pulled out a piece of paper, a list of names. One of my sources, the doctor who escaped, he kept records. These are the prisoners he treated. 3 Americans, John Reeves, Air Force, David Chen, Army, and Jacob Mitchell, Air Force Captain. My hands started shaking as I read Jake's name. He's alive. He's really alive. As of 2 weeks ago, yeah. But Sarah, you need to prepare yourself. The doctor said conditions are brutal. Disease, malnutrition, beatings. Your husband might not be the man you remember. I don't care. I just need to get him out. Then we need a plan. Marcus spent the next 2 days refining his plan. He drew detailed diagrams, timed patrol routes, identified the best approach and escape paths, studied the weather, when it would be darkest, when jungle sounds would mask our movement. We go in 3 nights from now, he finally decided. New moon, no natural light. The jungle will be pitch black, which helps us. Guard shift change is at midnight. That's when they're most relaxed, least alert. We'll have a 2-hour window between midnight and 2 a.m. when things are loosest. He showed me the approach route on his map. We come in from the north. There's a stream here that leads almost to the fence line. The jungle is thickest there. No guard tower in that corner. Apparently, they thought the terrain was enough of a barrier. We cut through the fence, move to the prisoner barracks here, get your husband, and reverse course. What if he can't walk? The doctor's notes said some prisoners were injured. Then we carry him. I'll rig up a sling we can use. But Sarah, if he's badly injured, this gets much harder. We might have to make tough decisions. Like what? Like whether we can get him out without compromising the mission. If he's unconscious or too weak to move quietly, the noise might alert the guards. We're not leaving him. I'm not saying we leave him. I'm saying we need to be smart. If we all get captured or killed, nobody wins. I understood what he was saying, but I also knew myself. If I found Jake alive in that camp, I wasn't leaving without him, no matter what. Marcus trained me for the next 2 days. Basic skills I'd need: how to move quietly through jungle, how to cut fence wire without making noise, hand signals for communication when we couldn't talk, what to do if we got separated, where the rally point would be if everything went wrong. He made me practice with the pistol, even though shooting it would mean the mission had failed. If it comes down to it, you need to be able to protect yourself. We drove out to an isolated area, set up bottles and cans. He showed me proper stance, how to aim, how to control recoil. You're not going to be accurate at distance, but inside 10 feet, just point and shoot. Don't hesitate. Don't think. If someone is trying to hurt you, put bullets in them until they stop. I practiced until my hands hurt from the recoil, until I could hit a target most of the time. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than nothing. The night before the mission, I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, just paced my hotel room, praying and trying not to think about all the ways this could go wrong. Marcus came by around 10 p.m., handed me something, a small silver cross on a chain. "This my grandmother gave me," he said, told me it would keep me safe. I wore it through 3 tours in South America: Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador. Never got shot, never got seriously injured. Maybe it'll work for you too. I put it on. "Marcus, if something happens to me, nothing's going to happen. But if it does, tell my family I love them. Tell Melissa she was right, but I had to try anyway. And make sure they know Jake didn't die alone, that someone came for him. You're going to tell them yourself, after we get back." "I hope so." He put his hand on my shoulder. "Sarah, I've been on a lot of missions, some with full teams of special forces operators, some with experienced intelligence agents, but I've never been with anyone who had as much heart as you. Your husband is lucky, and we're going to get him back." We left at 11 p.m., drove with lights off once we got close, parked the SUV 3 miles from the camp in a hidden spot Marcus had scouted earlier. From here, we went on foot. The jungle at night was terrifying. Pitch black, full of sounds I couldn't identify, things moving in the underbrush, birds or bats shrieking overhead. I stayed close to Marcus, following the glow strip he had attached to his pack. We moved slowly, carefully. Marcus would stop every few minutes to listen, to check his GPS, to make sure we were on course. My legs were burning. Sweat poured down my face. Mosquitoes ate me alive, but I kept going. After 2 hours of hiking, Marcus held up a fist. "Stop." He pointed ahead. Through the trees, I could see lights. The camp. We crouched low and moved closer. Marcus pulled out binoculars, studying the layout, comparing it to his maps and notes. 2 guards at the main gate. 3 more visible on patrol. Guard tower here is occupied. The other 3 look empty. That's good. Fewer eyes. "Where's the prisoner barracks?" He pointed to a long, low building on the far side of the camp. "There. But first we have to get through the fence." We circled around to the north side, moving like ghosts through the jungle. It took another 30 minutes. Finally, we reached the fence line. It was chain link, maybe 10 feet tall, with razor wire coiled along the top. Through it, I could see the camp. Buildings, vehicles, men with rifles. And somewhere in there, Jake. Marcus pulled out wire cutters, started working on the fence, cutting slowly and carefully to minimize noise. Each snip sounded impossibly loud to me, but he worked methodically. We waited for a patrol to pass. 2 guards walking the perimeter, talking and laughing, not expecting any trouble. After they were gone, Marcus cut enough to pull back a flap. "Go. Quick and quiet." I slipped through. Marcus followed. We were inside. The camp was bigger than it had looked on the maps. We moved between buildings, staying in shadows, avoiding the lights. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure everyone could hear it. We reached the prisoner barracks. It was a long wooden structure with barred windows. Marcus tried the door. Locked, with a padlock. He pulled out lockpicks and went to work. I kept watch, pistol in hand, praying no one would come. The lock took forever. Or maybe it was only 2 minutes. Time had lost meaning. Finally, it clicked open. Marcus eased the door open. The smell hit me first. Unwashed bodies, sickness, human waste. My stomach turned, but I forced myself inside. It was dark. My eyes adjusted slowly. Rows of rough wooden bunks, maybe 40 men sleeping, or trying to. Some were moaning, some were talking in their sleep. "How do we find him?" I whispered. "We look. Quick." We moved down the rows. Most of the faces were Hispanic, Venezuelan prisoners. But then I saw him. Third bunk from the end on the left. Even thinner, even with a beard, even in the darkness, I'd know that face anywhere. "Jake," I breathed. I rushed over, touched his shoulder. He was burning up with fever. "Jake! Jake, wake!" His eyes opened, confused, unfocused. Then they found my face. For a long moment, he just stared at me. "Sarah?" It came out as a croak, like he hadn't used his voice properly in weeks. "Am I dead? Is this heaven?" "No, baby, you're not dead. I'm really here. I came to get you." "How is this possible?" "I'll explain later. Can you walk?" He tried to sit up, gasped in pain. "My leg. They shot me when I tried to escape last month. It got infected. It's bad." Marcus appeared beside us. "We need to move now. Can you stand?" "I don't know. I'll try." Between Marcus and me, we got Jake upright. He was lighter than I remembered. They'd been starving him. He leaned heavily against us, his infected leg barely able to support any weight. "We're getting you out of here," I whispered. "Just hold on." We started moving toward the door. That's when I heard it. Someone else in the barracks was awake. A voice in the darkness. "You're American." It was one of the other prisoners. "You're here for the pilots." "Please," I whispered, "don't alert the guards." "I'm not going to." He sat up. Even in the dim light, I could see he was in bad shape, bruised, beaten. "But there's two others, Americans. They're in the punishment cells, building behind this one. They tried to escape with your husband. They got caught." Marcus looked at me. I could see the calculation in his eyes. 3 prisoners instead of 1. More weight, more noise, much harder extraction. "We can't leave them," I said. "Sarah, we can't. If they're Americans, if they're military, we have to try." He closed his eyes. "You're going to get us all killed." "Maybe, but I'm not leaving them." "Okay, but we do this fast. Where are these cells?" The prisoner gave us directions. A small building, maybe 50 yards from there. 2 guards usually stationed outside. We got Jake to the door of the barracks. Marcus looked out. "Coast is clear. Stay here with him. I'll get the others." "No, we go together." "Sarah, I'm not letting you do this alone. Jake, can you hold on for a few minutes?" He nodded weakly. "I've waited 3 months. I can wait a few more minutes." We propped Jake against the wall inside the barracks door. Marcus handed me his pistol. "If anyone comes, you shoot first. Don't hesitate." "Got it." Marcus and I moved across the open ground toward the punishment cells. My heart was in my throat. Any second, someone could see us, sound an alarm. It would all be over. We reached the building. Marcus was right. 2 guards sat outside in chairs, smoking cigarettes. They looked bored, sleepy. It was 1:30 a.m. and nothing ever happened at this camp. Marcus pulled out a knife, looked at me, made a gesture. "Stay here." He moved like a shadow. 1 second he was next to me, the next he was behind the first guard. His hand clamped over his mouth. The knife flashed. The guard went limp. The second guard started to turn, started to reach for his rifle. I didn't think, just raised the pistol and fired. The shot was incredibly loud. The guard dropped. But now the whole camp knew we were here. "So much for stealth," Marcus said. He grabbed keys from the dead guard and rushed to the cell door. Shouts erupted from all over the camp. Lights came on. I could hear running footsteps, men yelling orders in Spanish. Marcus threw open the cell door. 2 men were inside. Both American, both military, both in terrible shape. "Who the hell are you?" one of them asked. "You're right out of here. Can you run?" We can try. Then let's go. We ran back toward the barracks. Bullets started zipping past us. Marcus returned fire, dropping one guard, then another. We reached Jake. The other prisoners were awake now, watching with wide eyes. "You need to go," one of them shouted. "They'll kill you all." Between the four of us, me, Marcus, and the two prisoners from the cells, we carried Jake out of the barracks. The camp was chaos now, guards running everywhere, lights sweeping, dogs barking. Marcus pulled something from his pack, a grenade. "Get to the fence. I'll cover you." "Marcus! Go!" He pulled the pin and threw it toward a group of guards rushing our position. The explosion was massive. Fire and smoke erupted. Men screamed. We ran, or stumbled. The two rescued prisoners were weak, but they could move. Jake was dead weight between us. Bullets tore up the ground around us. We reached the fence. I pushed through the hole Marcus had cut, started pulling Jake through. The others followed. Marcus came last, firing his pistol behind him. "Don't stop! Into the jungle!" We crashed into the undergrowth. Branches tore at my face. Roots tried to trip me. Behind us, the sounds of pursuit. Men shouting, dogs barking, getting closer. "They've got dogs," one of the rescued prisoners gasped. "They'll track us." "Not if I can help it," Marcus said. He pulled out a small bottle, capsaicin, mixed with ammonia. It'll confuse the dogs. He spread it on the ground as we moved, but we were too slow. Jake was fading. The other prisoners were exhausted, and the guards were gaining. "Sarah," Jake whispered, "leave me. Save yourself." "Shut up. I didn't come this far to leave you now." "You're slowing me down. I said shut up." We kept moving. My lungs were burning. My legs felt like rubber, but I kept going. We all did. Then I heard the stream, the one Marcus had marked on his map. We were close to the extraction point. "Almost there," Marcus called back. "Keep moving." We splashed into the stream. The cold water was a shock, but it would help hide our scent from the dogs. "Follow the stream downstream 1/2 mile. The SUV is there." We waded through the water. It was slow going. The current fought us. Rocks made footing treacherous, but we kept moving. Behind us, the dogs and their handlers reached the stream. I could hear them barking, confused by the water and the chemicals Marcus had used. "They're losing our scent," Marcus said, "but they'll figure it out. Keep going." My legs were shaking with exhaustion. Jake was unconscious now, his fever raging, but I held on to him, refused to let go. Finally, we reached the SUV. Marcus had hidden it well in the thick brush. We loaded everyone in. Jake and the other prisoners in the back seat, the third prisoner in the cargo area. Marcus started the engine. "Hold on, this is going to be rough." He gunned it. The SUV lurched forward, crashing through jungle. Branches scraped the sides. We bounced over rocks and roots. Behind us, I could see flashlights, hear engines starting. They were coming. "They're following us," I said. "I know, but we've got a head start, and I know these roads. They don't." Marcus drove like a madman. No headlights, just moonlight and memory, taking corners too fast, pushing the old SUV beyond its limits. We reached the main road. Marcus turned south, towards the border, towards Colombia, towards safety. "How far?" I asked. 20 miles, but they're going to call ahead, try to cut us off. Can we make it? We're about to find out.
Marcus pushed the SUV as fast as it would go. The engine screamed, the frame rattled. I held onto Jake in the back seat, checking his pulse, trying to keep him stable. "He's burning up," I said. "His fever's getting worse." "Infected wound," one of the other rescued prisoners said. His name was John Reeves, Air Force lieutenant. They shot him in the thigh when we tried to escape, never gave him proper medical care, just let it fester. I'm amazed he's still alive. "He's strong," I said. "He's a fighter." "He talked about you every day," John said quietly. "Said his wife would never give up on him. We all thought he was crazy, but here you are." "Here I am." The third prisoner, Army Sergeant David Chen, was in bad shape too. Beaten, malnourished, but conscious and alert. "How far to the border?" 15 miles, Marcus called back. "But we've got company." In the rearview mirror, I could see headlights. 2 vehicles, maybe 3, closing fast. "They're gaining," I said. "I know. Hold on." Marcus took a sharp turn onto a smaller road. The SUV fishtailed, but he controlled it. The pursuing vehicles followed. "They're not giving up," David said. "Would you? We just broke into a military commander's prison camp and stole his prisoners. Vargas's reputation is on the line. He can't let us get away." We flew through a small village. Dogs barked, people dove out of the way. The pursuing vehicles were still there, gaining ground. "We're not going to make it at this speed," Marcus said. "They've got better vehicles, faster, newer." "So what do we do?" He thought for a moment, then smiled, that crazy smile that meant he had a terrible idea. "We don't outrun them, we outsmart them. There's a turnoff coming up. Old logging road, heads west instead of south. They'll expect us to run straight for the border. We're going to loop around. That'll take longer. But they won't follow. They'll keep going south, thinking we're ahead of them. By the time they realize we're not, we'll be crossing at a different point." "That's insane!" "You got a better idea?" I didn't. Marcus took the turnoff at the last second. The SUV bounced onto a rough dirt road. The pursuing vehicles flew past on the main road, not seeing us turn. "Did it work?" I asked. Marcus watched the rear view. The headlights kept going, fading into the distance. "I think so, but they'll figure it out eventually. We bought ourselves maybe 20 minutes. The logging road was terrible, more like a trail than a road. We bounced over ruts, splashed through streams, scraped past trees that seemed too close together for a vehicle. Jake moaned in pain with every jolt. I tried to cushion him, keep him stable. His skin was like fire under my hands. "He needs a hospital. Soon." "I know. We're doing the best we can." After 45 minutes of rough driving, we emerged onto another paved road. Marcus checked his GPS. This should take us to a different border crossing, smaller, less official. Hopefully they're not watching it yet. We drove for another 20 minutes. Every second felt like an hour. Jake's breathing was getting shallower. John and David were barely holding on. I was running on pure adrenaline and prayer. Finally, I saw a sign. "Colombia, 5 kilometers. "Almost there," Marcus said, but his voice was tense. We rounded a curve, and my heart sank. A roadblock. 2 trucks parked across the road, men with rifles standing behind them. "They called ahead," Marcus said. "They're blocking the crossing." "What do we do?" He looked at me. "You ever want to know what it feels like to be in an action movie?" "Not particularly." "Too bad, because we're about to live one. Everyone get down." John, David, and I ducked low. Marcus accelerated, straight at the roadblock. "What are you doing?" I screamed. "Trust me." The men at the roadblock started shooting. The windshield spiderwebbed. I covered Jake with my body. Bullets slammed into the SUV's frame. The side windows exploded. Marcus didn't slow down, just aimed for the gap between the 2 trucks and punched it. We hit the gap doing 60 miles an hour. Metal scraped metal. Sparks flew. The SUV's side mirror tore off, but we made it through. More bullets chased us. I heard a tire blow. The SUV lurched to one side, but Marcus kept control. "We're through! We're in Colombia!" The shooting stopped. Vargas's men couldn't cross the border. International incident, too many complications. But we weren't safe yet. The blown tire was shredding, the SUV was barely running, and we still needed to get to a hospital. Marcus drove for another 5 miles. Then the SUV just died. Engine seized. He coasted inside of the road. End of the line. We walk from here. Walk? Jake can barely breathe. I'll carry him. Come on. We got out. Marcus slung Jake over his shoulders in a fireman's carry. John and David leaned on each other for support. I grabbed our emergency pack and my pistol. We started walking down the dark Colombian road, hoping someone would come, hoping we'd find help. After maybe a mile, headlights appeared. A truck, coming towards us. Could be friendly, could be more bad guys. Get ready. I raised my pistol, but I was shaking so badly I could barely aim. The truck stopped. A man got out, middle-aged, looked like a farmer. "Necesitan ayuda?" he asked. "Need help?" Marcus responded in Spanish. I caught a few words. Americans, emergency, hospital, please. The farmer looked at us, at Jake unconscious on Marcus's shoulders, at John and David barely standing, at me covered in cuts and bruises holding a gun. He made a decision. "Get in. There's a clinic in the next town. 15 minutes. We loaded into the truck bed. The farmer drove fast, but carefully. I held Jake's head in my lap, praying harder than I had ever prayed in my life. The clinic was small, a one-story building with a faded red cross painted on the wall. But there was a doctor, a middle-aged woman who took one look at us and started barking orders at her nurse. They took Jake first, rushed him into a room, started an IV, examined his leg. "The infection is severe," the doctor said in accented English. "He needs surgery, proper antibiotics. I can stabilize him here, but he needs a real hospital." "How far?" Marcus asked. "Cucuta, 2 hours. I'll call for an ambulance." While they worked on Jake, the doctor treated John and David. Fluids, food, basic care. They were dehydrated and malnourished, but stable. I sat in the waiting area shaking. It was over. We'd done it. Against all odds, we'd gotten Jake out. Gotten them all out. Marcus sat next to me. "You did good, Coach." "We did good. I couldn't have done this without you." "Yeah, you could have. But you would have tried. That's the most stubborn, brave, insane thing I've ever seen." "Do you think they'll come after us, Vargas?" "In Colombia? No. He has no authority here. And honestly, he's probably more concerned about explaining to his superiors how 3 American prisoners escaped. His reputation just took a major hit." The ambulance arrived. They loaded Jake, John, and David. I climbed in with them. Marcus said he'd follow in a vehicle the doctor was lending us. The 2-hour drive to the hospital in Cucuta was the longest of my life. I held Jake's hand the whole way. He was unconscious, but stable. The doctor had done good work. At the hospital, they took him immediately to surgery. The leg infection was bad, but treatable. They'd have to debride the wound, put in drains, pump him full of antibiotics. But he'd live. He'd keep the leg. He'd recover. John and David were admitted too. Both needed several days of treatment and monitoring. While they were in surgery, I called Melissa on Marcus's satellite phone. "Sarah? Oh my God, Sarah, where are you? We've been so worried." "I'm okay. I'm in Colombia. I found him, Melissa. I found Jake. He's alive." She started crying. "You actually did it, you crazy woman. You actually did it." "I'm bringing him home." I called the Air Force liaison next, told them I had Captain Jake Mitchell and 2 other American servicemen, that they'd been held prisoner in Venezuela, that they needed help getting them back to the United States. There was a long silence. Then, "Mrs. Mitchell, stay where you are. We're sending people. Don't talk to anyone. Don't tell anyone else about this. Do you understand?" "I understand." 24 hours later, a team arrived from the U.S. Embassy. Military personnel, intelligence officers, doctors. They took over everything, arranged transport, handled the bureaucracy. They debriefed Marcus and I separately, asked a million questions. How we'd found the camp, how we'd gotten in, how we'd escaped. They seemed to be torn between being impressed and being angry that 2 civilians had pulled off what they couldn't. In the end, they decided the story was too embarrassing to make public. American prisoners held for months while the government did nothing, then rescued by a basketball coach from Texas and a retired operative. Not a good look. They flew us to Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio. Jake needed surgery again, weeks of recovery. But he was home, on American soil, safe. My family was waiting. My mother ran to me crying. Melissa was there shaking her head and laughing through her tears. "Only you," she said. "Only you would go to Venezuela and come back with your husband." I made a promise, for better or worse. Jake was in the hospital for 3 weeks. The infections cleared slowly but steadily. Physical therapy helped him regain strength. Counselors helped him process the trauma. I was there every day, slept in a chair next to his bed, held his hand, reminded him he was safe. Marcus came to visit once, brought Jake a six-pack of beer that the nurses confiscated, and terrible jokes that made everyone laugh. "So," he said to Jake, "your wife is pretty stubborn." "I know. It's one of the things I love about her." "She saved your life." "I know that too." Marcus looked at me. "Take care of her. She's one of a kind." I plan to. The Air Force gave Jake a medical retirement. Honorable discharge, full benefits. They couldn't exactly court-martial someone who'd been a prisoner of war. They gave him a medal, Silver Star for heroism during capture. This citation was intentionally vague. John and David got medals too, and therapy, and time to heal. We went home to Austin, to our house, to our life. Except it wasn't the same life. How could it be? Jake had nightmares, PTSD, couldn't handle loud noises or crowded spaces. It would take years of therapy to process everything, but we had time. We had each other. We had faith that carried us through impossible circumstances. And we had Marcus, who'd become family. He moved to Austin 6 months later, bought a small ranch outside the city, started a security consulting business training corporate executives and journalists who are going into dangerous areas. "Can't believe I'm settling down," he said. "Never thought I'd be the type." "What changed?" I asked. "You did. Watching you risk everything for love made me think maybe I've been running from the wrong things. Maybe it's time to run towards something instead." He started coming to church with us, started dating a widow from our congregation, started building a life. The first year back was the hardest. Jake struggled with depression, with feeling like he'd failed somehow by being captured, with survivor's guilt about the prisoners we couldn't save. I reminded him every day that he was a hero, that he'd survived, that he'd never given up hope. Slowly, with therapy and time and love, he started to heal. The nightmares became less frequent, the dark moods lifted. He started smiling again, laughing again. He got a job as a flight instructor at a civilian aviation school. At first I was worried, would flying trigger his trauma? But it did the opposite. Being in the air again, in control, it helped him reclaim something that had been taken away from him. I went back to coaching basketball. My team had struggled without me, but they were glad to have me back. I was glad to be back, to have something normal, something that made sense. But I was different now. I had seen things, done things. I had shot a man to protect people I loved. I'd broken into a prison camp. I'd driven through a roadblock under fire. I wasn't just Sarah, the basketball coach, anymore. I was Sarah who'd gone to war for her husband. And I carried that with me. A year after we got back, Jake came to me with an idea. "I want to write a book," he said, "about what happened, the capture, the camp, you coming for me, all of it." "Are you sure? That'll bring up a lot of painful memories." "I know. But I think other people need to hear this story. Other military families who have loved ones missing or captured. They need to know not to give up hope. And I want people to know what you did, how brave you were." "I wasn't brave. I was terrified the entire time." That's what brave is, being terrified and doing it anyway. We wrote the book together over the next 6 months. It was hard, emotional. We both cried a lot as we relived those days. But it was also healing, getting it all out, processing it together. Against All Odds, How Faith and Love Survived a Venezuelan Prison Camp came out 2 years after the rescue. It became a bestseller almost immediately. The interviews were overwhelming. Good Morning America, 60 Minutes, every major news outlet wanted to talk to us, to hear the story of the basketball coach who'd rescued her husband from a South American warlord. I tried to keep the focus on faith, on never giving up, on the power of love to overcome impossible odds. Marcus got some attention too, though he tried to avoid it. I was just doing a job, he'd say. But everyone knew better. He was a hero too. The book's success led to speaking opportunities. Churches wanted to hear about faith and action. Military organizations wanted to hear about resilience. Women's groups wanted to hear about strength and determination. I spoke about the importance of keeping promises, about how marriage vows aren't just words, they're commitments that should mean something even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Jake and I became advocates for POW MIA families, worked with organizations trying to recover missing service members, raised money for programs that help veterans deal with PTSD. 3 years after the rescue, we decided we were ready to expand our family. Our daughter was born on a sunny April morning. We named her Grace, because that's what had carried us through, God's grace. Our son came 2 years later. We named him Marcus, after the man who'd helped save our family. "You didn't have to do that," Marcus said, holding baby Marcus for the first time and trying not to cry. "Yes, we did," Jake said. "You gave us our life back. The least we can do is name our son after you. Just don't let him be as stubborn as his mother." "Too late," I laughed. "It's genetic." Watching Jake with our kids was beautiful. He was gentle, patient, present. He'd survived hell, but he came back able to love and laugh and live. That's the thing about trauma. It changes you, but it doesn't have to break you. With the right support, the right love, the right faith, you can come through it stronger. 10 years after the rescue, our kids were old enough to understand the story. We sat them down and told them everything. How Daddy had been captured, how Mommy had gone to find him, how Uncle Marcus had helped us. "You were really brave, Mommy," Grace said. "I was really scared," I corrected, "but I loved my daddy too much to give up." "That's what brave means," little Marcus said, "doing the scary thing because it's right." Out of the mouths of babes. We stayed in touch with John Reeves and David Chen. They'd both struggled with readjustment too. John had gotten married and started a family. David had gone back to school, became a therapist specializing in helping veterans. Once a year, all of us got together. The 3 rescued soldiers, Marcus, our families. We'd have a big barbecue, tell stories, laugh, remember how lucky we were to be alive. "We're the Venezuela crew," John would say, raising his beer. "To the ones who got out." We'd all echo. People ask me if I have regrets, if I do it differently. The answer is no. Would I have preferred Jake had never been captured? Of course. Would I have preferred an easier, safer rescue? Sure. But I don't regret going. Don't regret the risk. Here's what I learned. Love isn't passive. It's active. It fights. It persists. It refuses to accept defeat. Real love is boarding a plane to a war zone with $50,000 and a prayer. It's trusting a stranger with your life. It's cutting through a fence in the dark while armed men patrol by. It's carrying your wounded husband through the jungle while bullets fly past. Real love doesn't give up, doesn't quit, doesn't accept convenient lies like he's gone or move on or there's nothing you can do. Real love finds a way, or makes one. 15 years later, I'm sitting on our back porch watching Jake play with our kids in the yard. He still limps a little when it rains, still has nightmares sometimes, still carries scars both visible and invisible. But he's here. He's alive. He's laughing as Grace tackles him and Marcus Jr. piles on top. Marcus drives up. He's got his wife Elena with him. They've been married 5 years now. They're talking about adopting. "You're late," I call out. "Steaks are almost ready." "Blame your husband," Marcus calls back. "He wanted to stop for beer." "My husband is currently being used as a jungle gym by our children." "The other husband, me, your honorary brother." Elena rolls her eyes. "He still can't accept he's part of the family." "I'm not good at family stuff," Marcus says, but he's smiling. We eat dinner together, tell stories. The kids beg Uncle Marcus to tell them about the rescue again. He does, leaving out the violent parts, focusing on the adventure. After the kids are in bed, Jake and I sit on the back porch swing. The stars are out, the night is quiet. Do you ever think about that night in the camp? I ask. Sometimes. Do you? Every day. I think about how close I came to giving up, to deciding it was over. And then you appeared, like an angel, like an answer to prayer, like proof that miracles are real. I'm no angel. I'm just stubborn. You're my angel, stubborn or not. He kisses me. After all these years, all these trials, his kiss still makes my heart race. I love you, Sarah Mitchell. I love you too, Jake Mitchell. People ask me what the point of our story is, what the lesson is. I think it's this. Don't give up on the people you love. Don't accept easy answers or convenient lies. Don't let fear or distance or impossible odds stop you from fighting for what matters. Because love is worth fighting for. Family is worth fighting for. The promises we make to each other are worth keeping, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. I was just a basketball coach from Aston. No special skills, no military training, no reason to think I could pull off a rescue mission in one of the most dangerous countries on Earth. But I had love. I had faith. I had a 7-second phone call that told me my husband was alive. And I had the stubbornness to refuse to accept that he was gone. That was enough. That's always enough. So if you're facing something impossible right now, if someone you love needs you, if the world is telling you to give up and move on, don't listen. Listen to your heart. Listen to your faith. Listen to that small voice that says, keep going. And then keep going. Because you never know. Your impossible might just be possible after all. That 7-second phone call changed my life, changed Jake's life, changed everything. But it wasn't the phone call that mattered. It was what I chose to do with it. I could have dismissed it, could have believed the Air Force, could have stayed home where it was safe and eventually moved on. But I didn't. I chose to fight. I chose to believe. I chose to risk everything. And here we are. 15 years later, a family, a life, a testimony to the power of love and faith and refusing to quit. That's my story. The story of how a basketball coach went to war for her husband and won. It's not a perfect story. There are scars. There's trauma. There are nights when Jake wakes up screaming and I have to remind him he's safe. But it's our story, and we survived it together. Hit subscribe to hear more stories about love that refuses to quit, about faith that moves mountains, about ordinary people who do extraordinary things when pushed to their limits, because you're capable of more than you know. We all are. We just have to be willing to fight for it.